the idea of a koan is that all resolves in the depths. So all of those either ors resolve in the depths. What are the depths that they resolve in? Well, invariably they resolve in interdependence. And so when you say that about seduction being, we'll say cheesy. I'll say cheesy or gross or irritating, a whole series of things. Things that you, and then a whole series of rules and legislations have to happen because this is happening. Everything that happens there is a result of the illusion that we're separate. And then everything that happens there is the fallacy that you can be happy, say we're in connection, that you can be happy without me being happy, or that I can be happy without you being happy. It's impossible. You have that flash, then a lot of your question is answered in and of itself. So there comes that realization, and I love this point where I'll be interacting with somebody and I'll be able to tell they're trying to get something from me or they're trying to give me something, which is the same thing with a better face. There's like all of the stratagem are there. And then all of a sudden we get on the same side and look out at things together. Okay, so then culturally, if we're on the same side, we've come to the realization that our happiness is interdependence, and then we face unique challenges that are culturally bound challenges. So my challenge as a woman is that fundamentally any expression of appetite is shame-laced. I'm supposed to be small physically. I'm supposed to be small in expression. I'm supposed to be demure. If I have too big an appetite, then I'm like, I don't know, money grubbing or a gold digger, although those aren't even the more challenging desires that women have, or I'm greedy, or I'm all of the things that we think women are who have any kind of appetite that make us go to the other side and pretend like we're demure with no appetite. So I have this challenge, and the challenge is that when the shared arousal comes up in us, mine rises with shame. And when the shared arousal comes up in you, this is just culturally, that each one of us will have our individual responses, but when it arises in you, it tends to arise with greed. So the shame and the greed tend to interact in a very predictable cultural way. And so then what we think we can do is swing the pendulum. And so then all of a sudden, you see these movements where women shame men for their appetite. We're all just experiencing the same shame and greed around raw arousal appetite. So then what we do is we get on this side of it, and we take, instead of interlocking, locking horns with your way of experiencing arousal and my way of experiencing arousal, we take it and we put our cultural talents or gifts to work. So as a woman, when a desire arises in me, the shame silences me. And as a man, when desire arises in you, that gives you a lot of gusto. So we can take your gusto and purpose it toward expressing my desire. Well, what that will take is a capacity to tune in, like I just said with Joe, what is the desire? What is that desire? And then both of us can begin to look at it. And then what's really, stunning is when, by the way, we also talked last week, men are trained to turn their hearing off so they can go on overdrive and succeed in this world. Is, when a man's hearing is turned up and he can hear, And I can actually turn up the internal voice so that you can hear, and then we're facing it together. I just want to keep underscoring, it's not my desire, it's not your desire, it's just the desire that arises in the moment at the karmic intersection that we're sharing. So then what can happen is it can be that you speak for us, which is lovely. And then it can happen that I make the proper adjustments. And both of those have to happen. Often, if you make it to the place where, say, he's speaking the desire, both of you are thinking, I don't know, I don't want to be too pedestrian, but both of us are thinking we want to go home tonight, right? But goodness knows, if I say I'm a slut, I'm too dominant, I'm what all of the things that we're told we are. So you being a gentleman might be to speak that, but that's a vulnerable thing. And that's one of the things that we don't acknowledge, is that it's very vulnerable to speak that, but to speak it without demand or command. And speak it for us. You're like, I was just thinking it would be nice to go home with you. And then I might say, I can't even believe you'd think that. Because, I have to keep this thing down. Mm-hmm. And then, so we also used to say, ask for 100% of what you want 100% of the time, hopefully as accurately as you can hear it, and then stick around to negotiate. And this requires at every turn an absence of personality, so that you can hear it, and then I can do what I do, which, no, I would never do that. I can't believe you would say it. Because if I don't say no once, that means I'm really, just a tart. And so we do it. But then to hold that as that is the element of play. That is the intimacy right there. Us on this side of the question, doing all of the various negotiations to get to what we both want, is that's the act of love right there. The result is irrelevant. It's relevant, irrelevant. But to stay in this place, I have one relationship. We have been in this dance, I think I said it on here, for 30 years. We've just been in this seduction process. Every now and then he asks me to marry him, or he, says he's going to come see me. And then I said, no, I couldn't do that. And I don't know that I want it to be more than that. Because it's so intimate. It's so lovely. Like that.
Makes me think of an example. You've talked a lot about simultaneity recently, and I think you have to be able to hear on both of those channels.
You have to.
And sort of like our last question with Joe, where he's asking, one of the things I heard in that, I think men encounter this a lot, is when it seems like you should be going towards this thing. The script is certainly to move towards this.
Right.
But you're getting all these other thoughts and signals coming up, and how do you kind of integrate those two things? Like there's something happening in the direct attention and in the ambient attention. And it makes me think of this story a friend told me once, where there was a woman that he had some kind of relationship with in high school. And it was hot and it was on at the time, and he was in his mid-30s. And they were both home at the same time for like a Christmas break or something. And I was texting with him during while this happened. And he said, "Oh, this woman from high school is really, she wants to hang out. And like, I think we might like make out again. That could be so exciting." And he was really turned on by it. And then at one point, because she lives quite a while away from where he was, like 45 minutes an hour. And so he's sort of weighing, what's the cost benefit of going to see her? And is something going to happen? And I've got this one night in town. And at one point she says, "Well, yeah, I'd love for you to come over 45 minutes away, but I'm not sure that I want to do anything. So just, know that, And he's like, "Yeah, I decided not to go." And I'm like, "But that was, yeah." Right, because it wasn't a sure thing, right? And so I think for so much of this, what I think, the risk that wasn't a risk you know, the seduction, like she'll play the cards. If your attention is out and you're listening with women, this is sort of the thing I come back to every time, is like, if I just broaden my attention away from what it is that I'm fixated on right now, and then what would be fun to play with? What if I demonstrated willingness to walk in a certain direction, or I don't know what's going to unfold next. I don't need to know what's going to unfold next. But there's something seducing me further
Yes.
that doesn't want to be pinned down. And so can I be willing to play with the unknown of it without having to have a fixated goal in mind?
Yeah, when you were talking, I was thinking much of what we're doing here is shifting the center of gravity from, Joseph Campbell, to a zone otherwise unknown is how he writes it, which I love. And so we're shifting from climax consciousness into a process-based consciousness. Once you shift there, then everything is fun. The yes is fun, the no is fun, the confusion is fun, because it's all how do I enter? How do I enter into deeper connection? It's not how do I get what I want. It's more about how do I enter. It's very much the same with meditation. There is no way that I am going to tell my body to open. It just doesn't. I mean, that's the beauty of meditation, is that you learn that at such a fundamental level. Okay, I give up. And then your only option is to keep relaxing and enjoying, And the more you do that, the more it naturally gives you what you want, tenfold what you could ever imagine.